Hi, I'm Donnell Kelly, and as a veteran of over 10 years, I've built a safe, secure, and emotionally stable civilian life. Now I'm on a mission to help other veterans discover a life full of purpose and meaning by blending mental, emotional, and spiritual concepts. Open your mind and join me as we dive deep into the challenges faced by veterans every day. This is the Optimized Veteran Podcast. Hello and welcome back. I just want to take a moment and congratulate you for taking the initiative and listening to this podcast. I know it's not the traditional list of resources, but a shift in how you think and approach your life, and I'm grateful you're here for it. To get different results, we have to take different actions, and you're in the 1%. You're willing to step outside the box and try something new. Part of that something new is not only thinking for yourself, but also feeling for yourself, or rather accepting that you have feelings, that we all do, and even better, that our feelings are a major asset in the civilian world. However, just like anything with the potential for huge power comes huge responsibility, or however that saying goes, you know what I mean. Basically, it boils down to this. Emotions are a thing. That they feel like an inconvenience at the best of times and a weakness at the worst. It sometimes can seem like our only two options are to bury them or join therapy. But lucky for you, there are many ways to explore our emotions, a spectrum of options, if you will. Now, for this podcast episode, we are focusing more on the reactive side of the spectrum. And this is when it's too late to stop the train, but we can hit the brakes before we barrel into something. The other end of the spectrum is more preventative, where we can take action ahead of time to better manage our emotions automatically. We'll build those neural pathways, don't worry. But first, I just want to get you to baseline. It's like trying to concentrate when you're starving. When you're starving, you're not focused on eating healthy. You just need to eat something so you can think clearly. Then we can talk. Then we can make sure you're not starving again while you're eating healthy, so you don't lose all sense of reason again, okay? This is what we're doing with our emotions today. We're taking you out of starvation mode so you can think clearly and honestly start to trust yourself and build healthier relationships with yourself and others. If you haven't noticed a theme here yet, it's that everything is related. Your motivations, emotions, physical and mental health, your relationships, your goals, your dreams. All of it works together in a balance that will become more natural as we go along. So let's start getting into it. As promised from the last episode, we're going to discuss major actions you can take today in terms of your emotions. I'm about to teach you one of the most effective ways to take control of your explosive emotions in 5 minutes or less, no matter what is happening in your life right now. One of the biggest mistakes veterans make when adjusting to civilian life is burying yourself in the day-to-day and losing sight of what you're doing with your life until you finally slow down, start questioning it, and then maybe get a little depressed. And this can lead to anxiety, burnout, and overwhelm with all the life options that you do have. You may end up disoriented and confused, that you're not happy, even though you're doing everything right. I teach several ways to build emotional strength on both the reactive and preventative sides, but I'm giving you my fastest way right now because, as I always say, we need to take one step at a time. We have plenty of podcast episodes and future training sessions coming up to cover everything, so don't worry. You'll be able to use this immediately after listening to this episode to get control of your explosive emotions that seem to be out of your control. So let's dive into the first step about how to take control of your extreme emotions in 5 minutes or less, no matter what is happening in your life. As we know, establishing your civilian identity is important, but without emotional resiliency, it doesn't matter how well you know yourself because you can't handle the challenges that inevitably arise on the journey of your life. You may even revert back to coping mechanisms you used on active duty or even before you joined. Ignoring emotional strengthening tools is like discovering that you like to swim, but not getting trained on how to be safe about it. Sure, swimming is fun, But what do you do if you get a leg cramp in the deep end? It's important to understand that just like on active duty, processes and procedures exist in the civilian world to help you navigate it. Now, again, there are many ways to do this, but let's focus on the fastest way so you can start seeing and using it immediately after this episode. In step 1, I'm going to show you a simple way to reduce anxiety and overwhelm before you can get a handle on these explosive emotions. The biggest mistake people make here is saying or doing something impulsive when they are feeling this way. This can lead to a feeling of regret and the need to apologize later. And usually the original problem didn't get solved either, so it still needs to be worked out as well. So the first step is to simply find a quiet place. This is critical to getting a handle on these extreme emotions. I always tell my husband I need 5 minutes when I start to get heated and leave immediately to another room right after that, like as soon as I say it. And I say when I get heated because I'm not responsible for his feelings. I am focused on my internal state, and that can be challenging for us to do sometimes. It's really easy to latch onto someone else instead of looking at ourselves. But there's literally nothing we can do for ourselves, much less others, when we're so f***ed up we can't even think straight, right? Mind you, I've discussed this with my family before when we're all calm. So when things are not calm, all we have to say to each other is that we need 5. When you try to do this in front of others, like calm down and take a beat, it's like trying to watch a dramatic scene of your favorite movie with a band playing in the room. Not only is it nearly impossible to immerse yourself in the movie, but it's jarring and can have an extreme effect on your nerves because you're already in a heightened state from the movie. You need to remove yourself from the situation so you can get control of your internal state without being interrupted. Now in step 2, we're going to calm the nervous system so you can start to think straight. It probably took a lot of control and energy just to remove yourself from the situation when you really wanted to stay behind and just handle it, right? Okay, so you're alone now. Awesome. However, one of the biggest mistakes people make here is that they just fume and stew about the situation now that they're alone. So now they're imagining all the things they should have said or they will say when they get back into it. And then they imagine the other person's reaction, which is usually apologetic and ends with them being put in their place, right? It's not productive. And this can lead to micro fractures in your relationships or with how you deal with other situations in the future. As you're not solving the root cause, you're focusing on how the other person or the situation is wrong. You're not able to see how you can handle the situation to grow into a better version of yourself. So for this next step, you simply need to take 5 deep breaths. When you do this, you start to feel calm automatically on a nervous system level, and your chest starts to loosen up. It's like you've been squeezing a stress ball for too long, and you finally drop it, but your hand still kind of aches. You have to be gentle with your fingers as you slowly start moving your hand around again. Now, this next step is critical for calming down your mind as well. One of the biggest mistakes people make here is that they let their thoughts take over until they start spiraling down a negative black hole of blame, or worse, inner shame. They start to think about all the things that led up to the situation and about all the things that they should have done differently. Then they play out different scenarios in their head about if this happened again and how they would handle it. They get attacked by should thoughts, right? I should have done this. They shouldn't have said that. I should have said. This leads to getting all riled up again and creating more problems that don't even exist. You are projecting into the future and are already planning on more negative situations to occur instead of focusing on what you could be learning in this current situation to prevent it from happening again. So in this step, you need to set a timer for 5 minutes. When you set the timer, you set an intention that says, I deserve 5 minutes to myself. It's like finally saying no to someone who takes advantage of you all the time. Something in you finally snaps and you say, enough. I deserve more respect. It feels liberating to finally choose yourself first. So what do you do with these 5 minutes? Well, you're going to use them to work through the feeling, which is what we're going to talk about in step 4. One of the biggest mistakes people make here is that they try to push the feelings away or push more negative feelings on top of them to force them down. They shame themselves for having these feelings and try to bully themselves out of it. Adding shame or guilt or embarrassment on top of an already extreme emotion isn't going to get rid of it. It's literally adding to it. This leads to making it worse with an added bonus of 5 full minutes of concentrated suffering. This ensures that number 1, you never do this exercise again. And number 2, that you don't deal with this feeling. So you're doomed to repeat this every time a similar situation comes up. You were completely controlled by the external world, and that is a dangerous and miserable way to live. So in step 4, you are going to give yourself grace and sit with the feeling without judgment. It's like watching someone else's kid throw a temper tantrum. It's almost fascinating in an irritating way. How can someone so small get so upset about something that ultimately doesn't matter? And if you keep watching, one of 3 things will happen. Number 1, they will get what they want when the parents get fed up and give in. Number 2, they don't get what they want when their parents get fed up and threaten them with negative consequences. Number 3, they get distracted when their parents shift their attention to what they can do instead. So which one do you think is the best response? Well, number 1 encourages the kid to do it again to get what they want next time. Number 2 fractures the relationship between them, which may compound over time. And number 3 shows compassion, respects the kid's feelings, but still sets the boundary of acceptable behavior by distracting them with something they can do instead. It's the exact same thing you're experiencing during these 5 minutes. And you get to decide on how you want to react to the energy throwing a tantrum in your body right now. That's right. The energy, the emotion, it is not you. It is simply an automated response to a situation. You can train yourself to change your responses, even if you can't change the situations. No matter what happens to you, you can change your automatic responses. Isn't that amazing? This is what we are slowly doing throughout this podcast, building new neural pathways and burning the old ones to the ground. So you can skip the willpower and go straight to enjoying your life in a way that works best for you, your lifestyle, and your family dynamics, which are ever evolving and ever changing, right? Now, in the next step, you are going to solidify the calm feeling in your mind and body. The biggest mistake people make here is that they try to jump right back into the situation. This can lead to you doing, or should I say, undoing all the work you just did. And you end up doing something or saying something that you regret anyway. Don't waste all this effort by jumping right back into the fray. In step 5, you need to take 5 more deep breaths. This is important for you to transition back into the real world. It's like having wind down time before you go to sleep. You don't just decide to go to sleep by laying down and immediately falling asleep after doing a ton of housework, right? You need a transition and probably a shower. Okay, this last and final step is crucial. Step 6 will raise your awareness so you can start to shift your automated responses for all future situations, especially those where you have zero, like no control. The biggest mistake people make here is that they still feel upset, so they don't think that it worked. Now they're upset about the situation and the 5 minutes they wasted trying to fix it. You can't fix your feelings, people. That is the whole point. You need to work with your feelings so you can start to change your responses to situations. You need to see your feelings as a tool and a messenger. That's the whole other training I'm building out for MCM, but for now, just trust me, okay? You need to fully complete this step or you will feel a little calmer, but probably not enough to make you want to be proactive about this. You don't want to revert back to losing control when stressful things happen around you. The last step is to intentionally recognize the space in your body around the screaming temper tantrum that is the emotion. The feeling may still be in your body, but there's space around it now. This isn't a magic erase your feelings exercise, okay? But you can now think clearly so you don't say or do something you will regret later. It's like watching your favorite sports team lose. You don't like it, but you understand why it happened and you can control your behavior in response to it. Most of you. Likewise, you may still be upset after completing this exercise and still not agree with the person or the situation or what have you, but you can now think about solutions and express yourself without losing control. Whew, that was a lot. Okay, I understand. I could have said lock yourself in a room for 5 minutes, but that is the equivalent of barking orders at you with no explanation or opportunity for you to think for yourself. Understanding the ins and outs when it comes to rebuilding your brain is a must. Part of this work is critical thinking and following your gut. If you're still listening right now, you are truly ready for a change and not another set of how-to instructions that you can follow blindly and then wonder what's wrong with you when it doesn't work, right? I fully encourage you to take the tools that I am giving you and make them your own. You'll notice that there are elements that you resonate with and others that you don't, especially when you introduce them to your loved ones and you all start using them. Okay. So now you know one of my top practical tools to take control of your emotions and use them as a source of strength. This is huge, and I encourage you to practice it today. Problem is, there's still many more preventative ways to break your negative habits that you can use by yourself and with your family to build healthier dynamics in all areas of your life. Without them, you will still see results, but you won't be able to prevent the reactions in the first place. The 5-5-5 method is a reactive tool, meaning that it will help you now, but it is not sustainable if you want to be more proactive in the long run. It's like walking outside in the pouring rain and then going inside to towel off versus using an umbrella in the first place. You can't help getting caught in an unexpected downpour. But if you know it's going to storm, the umbrella requires a split-second action, grabbing it, for a major preventative payoff. It's easy, but it makes a huge difference. No matter what challenges you face in the battle of life, if you have both emergency and preventative strategies, you'll be ready. This is what I'm building MCM for, so you can easily start changing your habits one step at a time. I'll keep you updated on when I open the doors to the wait list, but for now, be sure to join our weekly Insiders emails if you haven't already. This is where I can dive deeper into these concepts that I can't on here without you zoning out on me. Wake up! I'm just kidding. Thank you guys. Again, I am truly honored to be part of your journey. Please take a moment to leave a 5-star review, and I hope you have a wonderful rest of your day. Until next week, take care.